What's going on, guys? This is Matt Marinoff. I've got my co-host Lee M. Perlman, ESQ, and tonight, Jesus, I can't even believe I finally got this guy in the show. Paul Wells, aka Colorado Paul, is in the house. Yee-haw!
Hello, friends. Welcome to Colorado.
I love it. Guys, we'll be right back after the intro.
Hey guys, what's going on? This week, live with Matt Marinoff, June 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we've got Paul Wells stopping by, better known as Colorado Paul. He's got 30 years in real estate, and you're going to want to hear what he has to say. Let's go.
Howdy, I'm Colorado Paul Wells. I'm one of the country's leading authorities on accessory dwelling units. ADUs are the hottest trend with residential real estate right now. I'm super excited to join Matt on his program and to share with you ideas about how you can take your single family home, make it more valuable, get more equity out of it, produce more income. We'll talk to you very soon. Take care.
What is going on, everybody? So tonight, as I said before, we've got Paul Wells, Colorado Paul on. And Paul, thank you so much for joining Lee and me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's an honor to be asked to be on your show, and it's good to see you and Lee again. Hello from the western slope of Colorado, where we take things just a little bit slower.
Absolutely, 100%. So, Paul, real quick, we met each other on Clubhouse, aka Crack House, and as you know, I've been meeting a lot of people on the network itself. I love the social aspect of it. I love the fact that people can't see my face because I have a face for radio. So it makes it easier for me to communicate with people, and they're not focused on my beauty facially. They're focused on my inner beauty. I'm only kidding. If there was a laugh track, there would be one here. But anyway, Paul, tell people a little bit about yourself. I mean, you, myself, and Lee, we had conversations offline prior to, but this is a new audience for you. Tell people a little bit about yourself.
So real quickly, Crush Down version was a professional skier till 1990 and went to work for Tony Robbins for 3 years, worked directly with Tony for 3 years, and then moved out here to Colorado from California and just have loved it ever since. Lived in Denver, worked corporate America for a number of years till about 2001. But I was traveling all the time. I had a young family. I was gone 150, 175 nights a year as a VP of business development for a company. And I was looking for a change. I needed to do something different. I had a family that was way more important than any job I had. And I was traveling to New York one morning, got on a plane on Tuesday morning, September 11th, flying to New York. And they put us down in Chicago. And I can remember exactly where I was. I was on the runway at O'Hare with an F-15 flying around protecting us. And I said, you know what? This is BS. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something for myself. It was 9:30 in the morning. I said, and I'd been investing in real estate anyway. I had rental houses. I knew real estate was something I wanted to do. I knew working for myself was something I wanted to do. So I said, I'd saved enough money to go make a run at it. I knew I could stay alive for, a year or two with what I had saved. And funny how that is, I was in the tech industry, and the tech industry is not funny, but ironic. Tech industry went south right after 9/11. I got laid off 3 months later. And so it was like, time to go for it. So let's go. So I started going to a lot of RIA meetings, started learning about foreclosures, short sales, subject twos. I had been taught that you make your money in real estate when you buy it, not when you sell it. And I had been taught by another mentor to add square footage to properties, added profits to my pocket. So that's what I went after. This is 02, 03. Got very, very good at it very quickly, took that and went out and started trading and teaching. And buying foreclosures and buying subject twos, and just kicked ass and took names till 2012 when I started building ADUs full time. And I've been doing that for the last 9 years. Love it. Freaking love it.
So, I mean, I see you all over Clubhouse, and I've seen the, the ADU and all stuff like that. And I never really heard really what it was, but I always thought you were intrigued, like when you talk, because when you talk with passion. And any real people that have actually made millions of dollars have all said they've made it from real estate, whether they actually had a job or whether they were some type of entrepreneur. They would always take, the lion's share of what they got and invest it in real estate. So it's funny that you talk about it. Explain what ADUs are, so anybody that's listening now understands what that means.
So sure, an ADU, there's really 4 types of ADUs. An ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. It's basically a secondary residence onto a single family residential lot. Now, an ADU can be attached to a house, like you'd almost think of a remodel, adding a room. An ADU has to have a kitchen and a bathroom and a separate entrance to be legally an ADU. So that's the basic ADU is the one attached to a house. There's one called a junior ADU, which in simplest terms, think about an unfinished basement in a house. Somebody goes in, puts a bathroom in there, puts a kitchen in there, puts a separate entrance in the basement under the house. That's what's called a junior ADU, generally 500 square feet or less. Then we have the garage ADU. A lot of people are wanting to build apartments on top of garages. We call them Fonzie flats. If you remember in Happy Days, see, I'm an old guy. I'm 61, so I remember Happy Days. But we call them Fonzie flats because that's where Fonzie lived. He lived above the Cunningham's garage. Then there is the Dadu, which is the only ones I like to build, the detached accessory dwelling unit. This is basically a small custom-built house on the back end of the single-family residence, generally separated from the residence. So generally 1,200 square feet or less, built on its own foundation, slab or stem wall, and built to code, built with permits, built with contractor. The cool things about ADUs are on a single family home, depending on the regulations of your city or county, you can tie into existing utilities. You can tie into an existing septic system or sewer system. You can tie into existing water, so you're not having to buy new tap fees. But then I get clients who will come to me, Matt, and say, hey, Paul, I want you to build me an ADU. How big do you want it? I want 1,000 square feet, 1 bedroom. Great. Consider $300,000 to $350,000. What? They're like, holy cow. Yeah, we're building mini custom houses. And the thing about ADUs that's cool is when you're designing them, if you have the right designer, they don't just consider square footage, because if you have a 3,000 square foot house and you consider square footage, it's pretty easy to do. But with an ADU, you've got to consider cubic square footage. Because the house is smaller, you've got to consider what you can do going up. So it's the utilization of space. And so those are the 4 types of ADUs. They became popular back in the right after World War II, and people were looking for additional housing. And then they fell out of favor. But now, obviously, with our affordable housing crisis, not a problem, a crisis, they're back in vogue. And right now, if you look at California, California is the freaking Wild West of ADUs out there. So that's it in a nutshell, and I hope I was succinct enough.
Very succinct. Are you working all over the country with the ADUs, or just in your area?
Just in my area, just here in Grand Junction. Now, I consult all over the country.
Okay.
And I have people that will ask questions from different areas. Just talked to a guy in New Jersey 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Fascinating space. Thank you for that.
Well, it's an awesome space.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That guy that you told him $350,000, was that a real number?
Oh yeah. Figure $300 to $350 a square foot. Now, when you think about that, you're like, holy smokes, that's a lot of money. Think about this. If I go borrow $300,000 at 15 years at 4% interest, that's a payment of about $2,500 a month. Let me ask you something, Lee, where you live. How much does a 1-bedroom house cost to rent a month where you live?
Upwards of that price point.
How about you, Matt? How about where you live?
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
So if I can build this and put this on my property and I can increase the value of my property,
That's a win. Yep.
That's a win-win. And in 10 years, it's paid for, or 15 years, it's paid for. Now you've got this reproducing asset, and the uses for ADUs are phenomenal right now.
Interesting. Well, I mean, personally, myself, I never thought of it like that, and I can see why you're very popular in Clubhouse, why a lot of people follow you. Hopefully, you'll get some additional followers tonight. I'll follow you, guys. We're talking with Paul Wells. He's I guess a professional expert when it comes to ADUs, and it's considered to be I'm going to mess it up. Accessory dwelling unit.
Accessory.
Right. Got it. Accessory dwelling unit. Okay. Hey, listen. These shows are all about learning. They're all about explaining to other people what they need to do, how they need to do it, how to get a hold of, the people that come on and are adding the value. If somebody wants to reach out to you direct, these are the best ways to reach you.
They are, Matt, and it's your audience, and they're there because you're providing value. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. I've got some free videos that are going up here at the end of next week, which is like a 45-minute overview series of ADUs, which I'm happy to provide you with the website if people want to go take a look at them. But I love them. My partner Jeff and I started the National ADU Association about 8 months ago, so where we advocate and educate about ADUs. I think it's the hottest trend in single-family real estate, especially with single-family residential houses.
Interesting. So again, just another way where people can reach out to you on Facebook and also on Instagram.
That's right.
I love the name Colorado Paul, obviously. And it's funny because, on the Clubhouse app, you can only hear you can't see you.
Well, they can't see my beautiful face on Clubhouse, just like you, Matt. You and I are stars on Clubhouse.
I think what it is it's the reverse. Whereas, like, for me, like, I have a face for radio. You've got a face for TV.
Well, Lee, do you feel like you're in the middle of an ugly sandwich there in the middle?
Well, listen, I call him Hollywood because he's always dressed to the nine. He's always dapper, and he always has a sexy pair of glasses that he has on. Tonight, he took it off, but he usually has it on. Usually has it in place. But regardless.
I see where it says Colorado. You got my IG there. You got to add an O to Colorado.
Oh, they made a mistake.
Colorado. I'll be Colorado.
You Colorado. Let me have them change it right now.
That's okay. So I'm happy to help anybody. They're welcome to reach out to me. I love this ADU space. I love what we're doing in it. It provides so many benefits to the people who want to build them. I'd love to share some of the benefits with you that I see when the time's right.
100%. So we have a couple questions like we do every week when we ask our guests. And there's no real particular order that we're going to ask these. We're just going to ask these, questions in itself. Now, you already covered the different types of ADUs, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What would you consider the ADUs itself is actually best used for? What would be the reason of somebody wanting to do it?
It depends. Everybody's in a different situation, Matt and Lee. Everybody is got different times, and I call them chapters of your life. So let's say you're 30 years old, you've bought a single family house, you have room for an ADU in the back. You've got parents that are 50, 55, 60 years old like I am. Man, I feel as good as I did when I was 20. I'm not getting old. And so that 30-year-old doesn't need to build that ADU for their old parent in the back. So what they might use it for is the super hot space of short-term rentals right now. Short-term rentals are perfect for ADUs or vice versa, or a long-term rental. So that would be in that chapter of life when you're 30. That might be what I use an ADU for. Also with COVID as it hit, I'm getting asked to consult on AHOs, accessory home offices, for the backyard. Because they're not going back to work in their traditional office space. So that's another one. But let's say life's getting on a little bit. I'm now let's say our guy is not 30, he's 50. Mom and dad are now 75 or 80. As people get older, they start to need a little bit of care. We have a silver tsunami coming crashing down on the United States very quickly, where our large part of our population is getting old very quickly. If you've looked at senior housing, it's on average about $6,000 a month for senior housing. Let's say mom and dad need a little bit of care. Maybe they need a little help with medicine. Maybe they need a little help with shopping. Maybe they need one hot meal a day and maybe a little help with cleaning. It is inconceivable to me that a person would take a parent and put them in an assisted living home at $8,000 a month when you can use the same numbers I just gave you about building an ADU and maybe build mom or dad, that single family home in the backyard. And people are saying, God, I don't want my mom and dad to live with me. Guess what? They don't want to live with you. They're tired of you. They raised you. But the family compound concept, I think is fantastic. One of the biggest problems that happened in COVID was the mental health aspect of people living in senior facilities. They were just, here, you sit in your 12 by 12 room, don't see any of your family except through a glass window for the next 18 months. How did that work out? Not so great. What if mom or dad's living in a detached ADU on the back part of the property? The kids are living in the front part with the grandkids, and you've got this awesome, positive family dynamic. How good is that? So now you're not paying $8,000, $7,000 a month for assisted living. You've spent $3,000 a month, let's say. You're creating equity in your home. Your parents are close to you, or your loved ones are close to you, and you're building equity in your property. You're creating value. What sounds better? To me, it's a no-brainer.
I'm not going to disagree with you. And just so you know, my mother and my mother-in-law both live with me in my house.
So let me ask you this question, Matt. If you could build an ADU, a detached ADU behind your house where your mother and mother-in-law, we'll say it quietly so they don't hear us, where they could live, would that be a better living situation on the Matt property?
Good question. Now, here's what I would do that would be different. I would install hidden cameras in the unit, because the mother-in-law and my mom, it's a weird dynamic. And I feel like I could set up my own OnlyFans page, and people would actually watch the nonsense between these old two bats.
You could quit work and just sell that.
And that's it. So do I think it would add value? I think it will be more of a pain in the ass, because I would physically have to leave my house to go back, because they would be like, hey, can you back? I got a question. Can you come back? I have a question. Now, me, on the other hand, I'd rather put myself in the ADU in the back.
You know how many times I've heard that?
And put the cameras in the house, and everybody can have at it. And I could just I don't even need a bed. I'll strap a hammock on at night, and I'll be like, one of the guys in Gilligan's Island, and that's the end of it.
Well, you know what's interesting? You talk about the cameras and stuff. There are things that I've done for clients for their aging parents behind in the detached ADU, because they want to know some things. They want to know mom or dad is safe, right? So Samsung makes a refrigerator that has Bluetooth to it, and it was designed for little kids getting in the refrigerator. But the Bluetooth goes off when the refrigerator door opens. So think about this. Mom or dad, 70, 80, 90 years old, they have a routine, right? They have a routine. Every morning they get up and they go to the refrigerator and they get their cream for their coffee, let's say. Mm-hmm. Well, let's say every morning for the next year, your Bluetooth goes off at 10 o'clock every morning because they're getting the cream for their coffee. One morning it doesn't go off. What does that tell you? Something's not right.
That's
so
true.
Now we have somebody. So that is what assisted living does. This is, listen, we will take care of your loved ones. We'll make sure they're safe. And if they're not safe, we'll let you know. We've set it up to where, with automation, to where the automation will let you know if things aren't right. We also have done designs for are ADUs that take into account elderly people. So there's things that we do, like all of our ADUs that I build, we build roll-in showers. None of them have doorknobs. They all have door levers.
Really?
All of our ADUs, the outlets are 24 inches high, not 12 inches high.
Okay.
All of our kitchens, 60% of accidents with elderly people happen in kitchens. 60% of those are from burns. And I learned this from going to the American with Disabilities. I can't remember if it was the association or act. Anyway, I learned this. Our ADU stoves are all glass top stoves. Our countertops are all granite. So the burns are the biggest problem for elderly people in the kitchen. So we've got the burner on the stove the same height as the granite countertop. So all mom or dad has to do is slide the hot pot over onto the granite countertop and not have to pick it up. So shoulders are a big problem for elderly people, I've learned. So all they do is slide it over, get it off the burner, because it's the same height as the granite countertop. Very safe.
I'm just trying to figure out, I can't even say it with a straight face. I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way where the ADU can be built with a detonation device?
You're thinking your mother-in-law again, aren't you?
There's enough time to have a go bag in place, and then just get the bag, get in the car, drive, and just...
What is wrong with you?
There's a lot wrong with me. Lee, you want to ask any of these questions?
Yeah. So you thank you, Matt. You covered the different types of ADUs. Talk to me a little bit about, I guess, zoning, because that's one of the things that popped into my head. How does that work with respect to the ADUs? Is that difficult? How does that go?
So Lee, it's a great question, and it's the second question that I tell my clients to figure out. Zoning has to do specifically with counties and cities. So for anybody listening, go to Google and you Google accessory dwelling unit regulations and then your city and your county. It's going to give you everything you need to know. Do not Google ADU regulations, because ADU are the first three letters in the word adult, and your search results will come back with some very interesting options. But every municipality is different. So you have to pay attention to the zoning in every municipality. Like I said, California is the Wild West right now. Pretty much anything goes. Other areas, not so much. There's a term called upzoning that is happening all over the country. Minneapolis is a great example of upzoning. California just passed Senate Bill number 9, which if you have the right type of property, you can build 6 ADUs on it and then subdivide it. That's crazy. So your question is a good one. Every municipality is different. So look at the setbacks, the easements, the height restrictions. So those are some of the things you have to look at. Now, on the unofficial side, there's a group. Have you guys ever heard the term NIMBY?
No.
Not in my backyard.
Yeah.
So neighbors are the ones that tend to put up a stink when it comes to this, even though they can't. But you don't want to have grief with your neighbors. So I have learned to make things easier for neighbors by doing these. So that's the other thing. So you really want to get people in step. You want to convince your neighbors, A, that it's going to bring the values up in the neighborhood, which it's going to do. And B, it's not going to be a problem. We're not creating some massive parking problem. One of the things I always do with neighbors is say, hey, if you pick up a nail or a screw and you get a flat, come see me. I'll pay for it.
I got another technical question. Hopefully Matt won't think we're losing viewers with these technical questions. Is there an ideal lot size for an ADU?
Quarter acre or more.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's for a detached ADU, Lee.
Okay.
If you want to do an ADU attached, then go big.
Anything goes. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Love it.
Guys, hold on one sec. We're going to be right back after this commercial break.
Okay.
If I can bring up the commercial.
Come on.
It's here somewhere.
It is there somewhere. He's right. Your glasses do look good, Lee.
Right? Doesn't he look sexy?
Look at these. You think these are sexy?
His energy, you can tell he's real. There's no BS talk.
Listening to Matthew Marinoff for a good amount of time, like a light bulb went off. I was like, wait a minute, I've got to learn more about that short sale process.
What is one thing that really stuck out in your mind that you learned that you may not have known prior to coming today?
Everything.
It's cool to actually see people's body language change throughout the course of the day. You know, their arms were crossed, now they're wide open, they're laughing.
All right, guys, and we're back. So, Lee, were you going to ask a question?
I was. Paul, can I ask you a question? I think it's very cool that you work with Tony Robbins. Love to read a lot of his stuff. Can you tell us a fun fact or an interesting story of the time that you worked with him? That must have been a real roller coaster.
You know what was really cool? You know, everybody knows Tony is famous for his firewalks.
Yeah.
The 15-foot firewalk. You know, it got to the first time I did it, it was cool. You know, about the 30th time, you're going, okay, this is pretty easy. We went to Hawaii, where the firewalk pit was 40 feet, I think, 45 feet. You want to test your testosterone? Walk across the 40-footer.
Wow.
Yeah, that was cool. It was a great learning experience.
I bet it was. Yeah.
It was a PhD, and honestly, it's the gift that keeps giving.
Yeah.
I still remember the one thing that I still do to this day, and did it in my real estate career, was massive action equals massive success, and Tony taught me that.
Yeah.
And so it's you get out there, kick ass, and take names, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, his energy level just continues to astound me. You sometimes you watch a video and you think it's still inspiring. I mean, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy for sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's very interesting. He's obviously very successful. Best platform speaker I've ever seen, bar none. Bar none. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a gift.
It is a gift, yeah. And he learned from some good ones. He learned from Jim Rohn, who was really good, and he learned from some others. But it was a blast. I hooked up with him right when he was ascending to the top of the mountain.
So cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, so what would be the steps to get involved, I guess, in ADUs? Like you say, you're coaching people, you're talking to people all over the United States. If somebody wants to reach out to you to really, I guess, understand how the process is and figure out how to move forward. Do you offer like a free consultation? Do you offer services for people that are in other states that want to actually find out how to build these things correctly?
So absolutely. I charge on an hourly rate. It's $10,000 an hour. I'm kidding. It's worse than lawyers, right, Lee? I am happy to answer anybody's questions. Feel free to call. Feel free to reach out. I've got, like I said, by the end of next week, if you go to aduclass.com, you'll get a 45-minute multi-part video series which goes over all of the basics of this, and you're going to get an idea of what you need to do to think about it. Let me fill you in on a couple things that I think are important. Everybody says, what's the first thing I do? Let me ask you guys, if you were going to build an ADU, what is the first thing that you would do?
Lee, you go first.
You say to yourself, I want to build an ADU. Everything I've told you today it has got the basics to it. What's the first thing that you do?
I'm probably going to look to see what market I'm going to put it in, and is it saturated and where they are. That's probably a little research. Yeah.
Matt?
I would actually go to the township and find out what are the regulations. I would need to know what the setbacks are before I even do any of that stuff. And is the building department willing, or they accepted to, will they accept stuff like that? Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother getting involved in it in that particular time.
So Lee, you're completely wrong. Congratulations.
Am I close?
Now you're halfway close. So between what you're talking about, Matt, with the zoning, the other half of that is the financing. How are you going to pay for this thing? That's where people get. How are you going to pay for it?
With your money.
Okay, good. Well, Lee's got more money than I do. But you got to get your financing in order. If you're going to go, not many people got $300,000 sitting in their bank account. So how are you going to do this? ADUs don't offer traditional financing. You can do a relocation, or you can do a HELOC, you can do a construction loan, but there's no 30-year permanent loans right now unless you wrap it into a renovation loan. So get your financing in order first. And you're knowing if you can do it. Those are the two first things. Next, go find a contractor who you trust. Contractors are a dime a dozen. Good contractors or not. So go find somebody who you trust. You don't need an ADU contractor. These guys are holding themselves as ADU contractors. Come on. It's a building. Here's a set of plans. Build me a building. So find a good contractor. The other person that you need that you do want with ADU experience is your designer / architect. That's your dude or dudette. They are, like I talked about earlier, cubic square footage is important. How do we design these things? Like, for example, in all my ADUs, I use 8-foot doors. Why? Because it's an 800 to 1,000 square foot building that's small. I want the building to look big. So I use 8-foot doors. I use vaulted ceilings. And so I want things in there that make some sense. So designer is super important. So that's kind of the process. Find out if it's in there. Or find out if you can do it via your county or your city. Get your financing in order. Find yourself a contractor. Then go find your designer. That's probably the order that I do on that.
All right, listen, Paul. We're gonna do a little thing that Lee and I are starting.
Nice.
Actually, in this episode, the foreclosure market update. So, Lee, let's talk about the foreclosure market update. We had talked about, you'd sent me an article before, which I want you to give a recap on.
Sure.
But let's talk about the moratorium on some of these tax liens, where people were getting confused between the tax liens and the moratorium on those versus the actual foreclosure moratorium. Let's start it out with the tax lien foreclosure that happened. No names, no addresses. Does that have to be a state?
Pure learning example. Yeah, Matt, we were talking a little bit before we went on camera. I think and we've talked about this. This has been a theme we've been discussing in our show over the last 6 months or so. There's a lot of confusion about the national eviction moratorium and the foreclosure moratorium, both of which still remain in place. So there is still an eviction moratorium, which is going to be expiring and maybe extended another month. There was just an article today before we went on air that Biden is likely to extend the eviction moratorium, which was going to expire June 30th, another month. So that's the first piece of breaking news. That's news as of 2 hours ago before we went on.
Really interesting.
Yeah. The second thing is the foreclosure moratorium. So that is still in effect. But what's going to happen is, and this is the article that Matt was referring to, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which governs mortgages and credit cards. It's the regulatory arm that oversees them, the watchdog group. They're going to be encouraged to reach out to homeowners to offer modifications. So if you're coming off a forbearance, they want to convert that forbearance into some type of permanent loan mod. I'm starting to see clients who have engaged me for foreclosure assistance, Chapter 13, reorganization, where mortgage companies are offering them what I would call no doc modifications. We can talk about this till midnight, I have some concerns about no doc modifications or a streamlined modification being offered to somebody. Basically, my view is it's the same exact thing that was happening in 2008, where people were taking mortgages out without the requisite due diligence, not reviewing pay stubs, inflation of financials. Now, the government's trying to do the same thing. That, you know, this is where my opinion comes in. And offer these streamlined modifications without reviewing financials in an effort to try to save people. They may not be doing them any favors. So that's what's going to be happening now. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that. Matt was asking me about tax foreclosures. In New Jersey, where I practice and I'm admitted to be, admitted to the bar, there's a difference between a foreclosure and an eviction versus a tax foreclosure. So in New Jersey, if you fall behind on your taxes and it goes to a tax sale because you haven't paid quarters of taxes, some of you have paid year thtaxes, somebody can purchase those taxes in New Jersey, and then they get a premium of 18%. Investors buy them. So there's a process where it's a foreclosure, it's a tax foreclosure complaint. You have an opportunity to defend it. I have seen clients over the last 3, 4, 5 months who think wrongly that the tax foreclosure litigation is covered by the eviction and foreclosure moratorium. It is not. That litigation continues. I saw a woman today, a doctor with $1 million home. This is an educated doctor who went to an Ivy League school who wrongly assumed, without picking up the phone and calling an attorney, that she was covered by the eviction moratorium. She lost her home for a $125,000 judgment. There's $900,000 worth of equity. There's nothing I can do. A bankruptcy can't save her. The LLC that purchased this, that now gets 18%, they are the owner of the home. And I had to share this news with this doctor today. So
can I ask a question? Can she buy that paper back at any type?
So Matt asked me the same thing before we got on air, because he's such a smart guy. And the answer is the LLC, the owner of the LLC, isn't obligated to, but potentially we could negotiate something, but they don't have to. They're not compelled to. So somebody could engage me to negotiate a premium, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the result the doctor looks for. It's a very difficult set of facts, and giving people that kind of news is always difficult for me in my 27 years of practice. But all somebody had to do was pick up the phone and do a little due diligence.
Lee, are you guys a judicial state or a deed of trust state? Sorry, Matt, I'll shut up after this.
No, we're judicial state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to get more notice in New Jersey than you're probably going to get in any state. You have, on one hand, you have New Jersey. On the other hand, you have, like Alabama and Georgia, which are,
Well, I'm super interested in this. And Matt, I think your training right now is going to be very effective coming up here very, very soon.
I appreciate that.
Well, I did foreclosures for years in Denver back in 07, 08, and 09. I never had the courage to do short sales. It seemed like a headache, but you're obviously very good at it. But I think the short sale market, I think your training to become very valuable very quickly.
Oh, without a doubt.
There's a lot of people that reach out to me nationwide, and it's funny because I don't have a Lee in every state. Lee is massive for me in New Jersey. He's literally become, as far as I'm concerned, an arm for me to refer people that don't know what their options are. Lee's spoken with people, and the homeowners call me back and go, I never spoke with the bankruptcy. I spoke with 3 different guys. Lee is the only one that's telling me when I'm ready to file bankruptcy. But now he doesn't see a need for me to file just yet, whereas everybody else is pushing me for a retainer. So Lee, let me ask you this question. Why are you different than the other bankruptcy attorney that obviously we've talked about other attorneys, but why are you different? Why are you not pushing people to file bankruptcy unnecessarily?
We talked about this before. I try to give people the best and honest advice I can. All I really have is my reputation. Everyone's out there today. You can Google me and see my results. Too many people, I think, get forced into bankruptcy when they don't need it. Remember, bad things happen to good people all the time, particularly on the financial side. We firmly believe in a financial fresh start. And I've trade line I've trade line that phrase, offering a financial fresh start to consumers and businesses since 1994, and I just believe everybody's entitled to a second chapter. So my point is, in a Chapter 7, if you file and it's not appropriate, either you weren't facing a bank levy or a foreclosure that was going to be you're going to be barred from filing for 8 years. That's pretty significant. So too many lawyers, in my opinion, not all lawyers, but too many lawyers rush people into a Chapter 7 when it really doesn't accomplish everything it needs to accomplish. That's all I'll say.
Hold on one sec. We'll be right back after this brief message, and then we're going to get final thoughts from Colorado, Paul.
Hi there. I'm Lee Perlman. I'm a consumer bankruptcy attorney. I've been helping people get a financial fresh start since 1994. You can reach me at newjerseybankruptcy.com or 856-751-4224.
Okay, guys, so let's get some final thoughts from Colorado, Paul. And Paul, I really appreciate you coming on. I know Lee does too.
Absolutely. It's a great talk tonight.
And talking shop. Paul, if you had any final word for somebody that was out there that would want to utilize your type of service, what would be the first step, honestly, if they're kind of on the fence but they're not sure? You've already said you charge $10,000 an hour for consultation. I think you're out of your goddamn mind. I'm only kidding. It's a free consultation, correct?
I'll talk to anybody anytime, Matt and Lee. I'm happy to do it. I'm a believer in just give. Stuff comes back. I'm 60 years old. I'm happy as a clam. I live on a golf course in Colorado. I've got money coming in from rentals. I do this because I love it. I retired in 2016, and I got bored in 2 weeks. It was May, and so I went and worked on a dude ranch for the summer because I wanted to. I like it. And I'm happy to help. I'm happy to, if I can make some money, that's great. If not, I'm not going to worry about it. I don't mind doing it. But I love what you guys are talking about right here. When I saw your foreclosure market update come up, I said, okay, how am I going to tune in and get into this guy's weekly conversations? Because like I said, I learned from a guy who said you make your money in real estate when you buy it, not when you sell it. And when you buy distressed property or you buy at a discount, that's where you make your money. And this time around, I love buying subject to. I'm going to try to buy more houses. So it's very hard right now, obviously. Real estate markets are out of control. But I think we're going to come back to earth. And I think what Lee is talking about is spot on. I think we're coming. Don't you think we're coming back to earth, Lee?
I think so. I mean, I think we're sensing the market's changing. And there are a lot of people who purchased or refinanced and probably really shouldn't. We know that people purchased at an inflated amount. So those people, they're going to need to reorganize in some fashion. Not all of them, but many of them.
Matt, do you see your business gaining traction?
Well, look, so I would say during the whole pandemic, I mean, we're still in a pandemic, but at least we're starting to see the end of the tunnel.
Sure.
There was about 2.5 months where my business, I don't want to say it was paralyzed, but there was a big time where people didn't know what to do. They were so panicked. They were so, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't buy the house. My funding collapsed. The guidelines changed. I don't have the new amount I have to put down on it. So there was a lot of, oh my God, I'm so scared. And then there was a lot of people that like literally just sat home, I hate to say it, and ate bonbons and didn't do anything. Now I'm fortunate. I sat home, I ate bonbons, but I was still working. And I decided to do these types of shows to educate people and build awareness and bring other people into different markets so everybody can like kind of get to know each other. So that actually helped me through the moratorium part of it, where is I'm reaching out and cross-marketing with other people in other industries, in other states, same industry, but being able to, for them to actually figure out like who I am, what I do, and why I do it. So, yeah, I mean, it hurt, but it didn't hurt, if that makes sense. And it was a little bit of difference as far as like trying to make things work. But I'm gonna wrap it up.
Why? I want to keep talking. I love this stuff.
We can't, because we're coming up on the 45-minute threshold right now. But we can have you on. I mean, Lee, do you like Paul? I mean, he's all right.
Paul, we're gonna have you
He's overpriced at $10,000 an hour.
Paul, we're gonna have you back. You're a good guest.
I love it. I love talking foreclosures. I mean, if you go on to CNBC and Google my name under the Foreclosure King, you'll see me being CNBC's consultant, or not a commentator. That's what it was when it came to distressed properties back in 08 and 09. I love this stuff. I love foreclosures.
Guys, you know how to reach out to Paul, a.k.a. Colorado Paul. His information's been up throughout the whole show. I appreciate I appreciate you coming on. And until next week, guys, we will see you soon. Always. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, it's not a known T-get or a restraining order. Paul, Lee, hold on one second.